Gamers of Reddit, what is the stupidest game mechanic you have ever seen? Tripping in Brawl, what the actual duck were they thinking? A long, unskippable cutscene before a particularly difficult boss. The random race minigames that you need to place first in to progress. Every escort mission ever conceived. At no point in 20 plus years and 1000s of hours of gaming have I ever done an escort mission that I didn't hate. Battles where you have to wipe out every enemy to continue. Then the very next cutscene shows you in the middle of a pitched firefight, looking at you Gears of War. Bane turning mid-charge in Batman Arkham Origins. No checkpoints in Saints Row, the first one. A limited time to do certain things that have no business having a timer. The one where you go through a door only to be locked into a cutscene where some asshole bops you on the head and knocks you out, and all the equipment you were saving for a special occasion is gone when you wake up. That's a double whammy of duck you to the player. Escort missions where the NPC runs slower than your natural run speed or even worse, walks. Using cards obtained from a slot machine minigame to upgrade your car in Need for Speed Payback. When your character is small enough to fit through a gap in a fence floor etc, but the game won't let you. Things like the owl in Legend of Zelda that punished you for button mashing to get past information by making the whole thing repeat again. Dark Cloud, amazing dungeon crawler. Thing is your character got thirsty so you had to pack water or lose health constantly, otherwise amazing game. If your game requires a map, I shouldn't have to press more than one button to see it or hunt around in menus for it. Also, the button that opens the map should also close it. Really item durability in games that it doesn't make sense in. Hiking up enemy HP ridiculously high for no reason when you get to the end game content. Therefore making your weapons break way more often. Glares at Witcher 3 angrily. Grinding. I hate when they artificially extend gameplay by making you do the same task 1,000 times. When buying the game wasn't enough so they started charging you for in-app purchases to make it playable. Tailing missions in GTA IV. There's way too many of them and none of them are fun. Slowly driving behind a particular car without getting too close is just a test of patience. In stealth games, getting detected by one alone enemy in a back room and then every single enemy in the entire building knowing exactly where you are and b. having perfect aim. This is in many games and still pisses me off. Being targeted by all enemies regardless if I'm in front or 3 miles behind my RI pals, while also being the only one who instantly dies when my HP hits 0. Holding a button to turn a wheel or open a door. It adds nothing to the game experience. Really just a waste of time. I'd much rather press a button and be on my way. In the long run it doesn't make any difference. I just think that it's annoying to have to wait a few seconds to do something trivial. Keeping the manual save points, which are few and far between, in the mobile version of Final Fantasy VI. On a home version it's okay. But on a mobile device where you might get a call that results in the game being closed the next time you switch back to it or just generally put your phone away before you can find a save point is ducking retarded. They got FFIX right in this regard. Still waiting for FFVIII. Overpowered bosses in fighting games. Duck Shao Kahn. Ladder mechanics in every game ever made. Taking damage from a 3-foot fall. I got Destiny 2, and wow, you need to walk a lot until you find one of those bikes. Why not giving the bikes from the very beginning? The fatigue system, in the original release of Final Fantasy XIV, TLDW, it's a system that stopped you if you play a class job too much in a given week and forced you to either stop playing or switch to something else. Crafting. When you can craft something which is not a consumable and which you can also buy and you need to buy some of the materials because you wouldn't find them. Also weapons that break way too fast with time usage. Do that with attachments to the weapons. So I can customize my weapon. Hit flinch. When it's really overdone. Really grinds my gears. Used to play a lot of Dirty Bomb but took time to play other games, and after watching some footage on YouTube explaining what hit flinches, I noticed how bad it was when I returned to Dirty Bomb. And honestly, it was a rude awakening. It's one of those favor the shooter mechanics and I despise it. Full stop. The Division went overboard with how they handled endgame activities. Literally just threw a ton of enemies that had 100x your health, dealt insta-kill damage, and cranked their aggressiveness up all the way. This promoted glitching and cheating to complete the activities. Then they went super stingy on loot drops, and with the wide range and possibly RNG, you often got a single high-end item and it was oftentimes worse than lower tier items. Massive was quicker at patching these bugs than the fixing the reason for these bugs being so popular, and this split the community between the haves and the have-nots when it came to the prestigious endgame gear. Massive really ducked up with the Division, and it took them months and months of patches before they even got around to addressing these issues. By then all my friends, a vast majority of the player base, quit playing. Invisible walls in places it looks like you can clearly go to otherwise. Weapon durability. I'm not against immersion on principle, but weapons don't break that ducking fast. A sword is not going to become useless after one day of fighting. Fuck. Taking away all your defensive options for a fight because you wanted a cool set piece. Kingdom Hearts did this by making you fly during certain bosses, but you couldn't dodge or block anymore. Would be fine if you flew faster than a paper plane. At no point has a maximum carry capacity added to my experience of the game. It's always been a chore and stopped me being immersed and actually playing the game. Oh boy, I'll stop and walk for ages to a town just to have to come back for no good reason. Looking at you, Skyrim and Fallout. Random encounters in RPGs. I don't mind most uses, and some games have items in the game that reduce the encounter rate. Pokemon with repels for instance. But when you're barraged with a million at a time, it gets frustrating. It gives the illusion of difficulty and achievement via EXP, points and whatnot, but it's mostly just a waste of time. Quick time events that can hinder one's progress in the game, especially if the game has no quick time events and they randomly threw one in. Splinter Cell Blacklist has one at the very end boss fight. It has very strict rules about it. If you mash the button you die. But if you tap the button once you live, yet you won't know this until you die a few times. It's ducking stupid. The obligatory this part is different than the other parts section. The escort mission. The vehicle level. The manning a giant turret minigame. The all of a sudden and only for this section precision jumping is required part. So that maybe went off the rails at the end. And some of these things can be done really well. But usually I'm using a spotlight to kill evil bats in a dune buggy that can for some ducking reason not drive and have a light on at the same ducking time. Paying more money to play a game you already bought. Higher difficulty modes just hiking up enemies' health, making them bullet sponges, while lowering yours to the point where someone sneezing at you will kill you. It doesn't make the difficulty more fun, just more frustrating. Elder Scrolls games are always guilty of this. And I always download a mod that makes it so that the higher difficulties lower both enemies' health and mine. No matter what choice and decision you make, you are always guaranteed to sacrifice something and upset half of the people. For example, Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect Andromeda. This is what I disagree with some game designers. It is usually true that you could not do anything without pissing someone off. However, bringing the most frustrating part of real life into the game does not automatically make it more realistic. One thing I hated about XCOM 2 was the low level enemies scaled up HP when you got better weapons. Capital O. You got mag weapons that do 3-4 more damage. Well, guess what? Now you're fighting heavy advent troopers that have 4 more health. Like it's not hard to kill them at this point, and there is still reasons to upgrade your weapons. It's just a huge buzzkill to see the low level bad guys still take 2 shots to kill, even after getting better weapons. The camera angle in Alan Wake. It's third person, but off to the side, not directly behind the character, but forward direction, and targeting is still to the center of the screen. It's super weird to move around diagonally like that, and I'd constantly involuntarily strain my neck and eyes, trying to get the right angle, which is of course impossible. The only way to mitigate that was to set the font as high as possible, because that kind of moved the character closer to center screen. The fishing in Stardew Valley. I love the rest of the game, penny all the way, and I'm fine with the fishing for the most part. The way the fishing works is you reel in by keeping a little icon inside a green bar that moves up and down. You move it up by holding the button, and release it to drop it. To reel it all the way in, you have to keep the icon and the green bar long enough for a meter to fill up. Icon in, meter goes up. Icon out, meter goes down. Simple, no? That is, unless you happen to hook a particularly valuable fish. The green bar moves up and down faster than not only can you react, but faster than the icon can even move. I have never managed to catch one, and I don't even know what it yields. I always fail those particular hooks pretty much instantly. Hoo boy, get ready for a rant. I'm gonna tell you about ducking Metroid. Other M. Duck that game. They show it as being as awesome looking adventure, but looks like they couldn't ducking decide whether they wanted it to be an FPS or side shooter. So they ducking mash them together in a move to avoid getting hit. Stop to shoot and be a sitting duck ducking bullet mechanic. The ducking stupidest pixel hunt minigames were such bullet as they were either near impossible to find without a guide or unbelievably easy that there was literally no point in putting it there. And spoiler alert, that ducking end of the game. How the duck is anyone supposed to figure out that you were supposed to target the piece of its humanoid mother brain when you have these arsehole pieces of it in your face thinking you have to beat them and having to ducking restart again and again and again. Spoiler. Duck. That. Game. TL. DR. Metroid. Other M sucked. Quick time events for boss battles. Not putting autosave into an engrossing game, so you forget to save, and when you die, you're done for. Rubber ending in racing games. If I'm so good I can pull way ahead of my opponents, I should get to enjoy the moment. Not sure if it counts as a mechanic, but having kids in Fire Emblem Fate's Birthright, an alternate dimension where the kids grow up literally overnight. Also clearly underage characters getting pregnant and having kids. It made sense in Awakening, but in Fate's Birthright it was just some asinine creepy bullet. In Shadow of War, you have to click to pick up items that enemies dropped. That, in and of itself, is not a terrible mechanic. Annoying, but not uncommon. But the fact that they made a level up perk that made it so you just had to walk over items to pick them up, that's just crazy. Abilities shouldn't be annoyance removers. They should make you more badass. Random encounters. People want to explore this awesome world that you've created. Why do you want to slow them down with an easy and meaningless battle every X number of steps? Cutting off a portion of the game after the player makes some arbitrary decision. I get that you want to make a game with consequences, but the player wants to explore the world that you've made and test every possibility.